America is often perceived around the world as a land of infinite possibilities and striking diversity. From the sun-drenched beaches of the Pacific Coast to the historic cobblestone streets of New England, the nation offers a vast array of lifestyles. However, the decision to relocate within the United States in 2026 is a complex undertaking that requires looking far beyond postcard-perfect scenery. While many regions are experiencing an economic renaissance with booming tech sectors and modern infrastructure, others are facing deep-seated systemic challenges. For families, retirees, and young professionals looking for a fresh start, failing to recognize these critical disparities can lead to significant financial distress. The modern American landscape is increasingly divided between areas of rapid growth and areas of stagnation or decline. We have meticulously analyzed the most recent datasets covering economic stability, healthcare accessibility, crime rates, and environmental risks. It is absolutely essential to weigh these factors with a critical eye before you commit your life savings and your future to a new location. Moving is one of the most stressful and expensive life events a person can experience, so getting it right the first time is paramount. To help you navigate this difficult decision, we have identified 5 specific states that currently present the most significant hurdles for new residents. Here is our comprehensive, deep dive breakdown of the 5 states you should seriously reconsider before moving to in 2026. Number 5, Michigan. Michigan is a state that holds an undeniably important place in the history of American industrial power and innovation. It is recognized globally as the birthplace of the automotive assembly line, a heritage that once made it the economic engine of the entire country. The state also boasts some of the most breathtaking natural landscapes in the Midwest, bordered by the majestic Great Lakes. However, beneath this layer of historical pride and natural beauty lies a complex web of modern challenges that new residents must navigate. One of the most significant and persistent issues facing Michigan today is the state of its economy and job market. While Detroit has made headlines for its revitalization efforts, the economic recovery across the state has been uneven and often sluggish. Recent economic forecasts indicate that job growth in the state will plummet from over 80,000 new positions in 2023 to just around 18,500 by 2026. This represents a staggering 77% decrease in employment momentum compared to the post-pandemic recovery period. The manufacturing sector, which provided stable middle-class incomes for generations, has been in a slow decline for decades. Detroit. 3 automakers now command only about 32% of the market share, a sharp drop from their dominance in previous eras. Automation and the outsourcing of labor have left many factory towns with high unemployment rates and few replacement industries. For professionals seeking career advancement outside of the automotive or heavy industrial sectors, opportunities can feel surprisingly limited. The transition to a knowledge-based economy has been slower here than in coastal hubs, leading to a stagnant job market in many areas. Even for those who do secure employment, wage growth in Michigan has often lagged behind the national inflation rate. This creates a difficult financial environment where the cost of living rises while purchasing power remains flat or declines. Beyond the economy, the climate in Michigan presents a formidable challenge that should not be underestimated by newcomers. The winters here are legendary for their severity, duration, and the unique phenomenon known as lake effect snow. Parts of the Upper Peninsula can receive over 200 inches of snow annually, while metro areas still face months of freezing sludge. For those moving from warmer climates, the reality of months of gray skies and bitter cold can take a significant toll on mental health. Seasonal affective disorder is a common complaint among residents, fueled by the lack of sunlight during the long winter months. The cost of heating a home during these long winters is a major expense that can drastically inflate your monthly budget. Old, poorly insulated housing stock in many cities means that utility bills can become a second mortgage during January and February. Moreover, the physical infrastructure of the state has suffered greatly from the freeze-thaw cycles and years of underfunding. Michigan roads are infamous for their poor condition, with massive potholes that reappear every spring, causing frequent vehicle damage. Analysis shows that Michigan drivers pay significantly more in vehicle repairs due to road conditions compared to the national average. This infrastructure decay extends to water systems as well, with the Flint water crisis being the most visible example of a wider problem. Aging lead pipes and outdated water treatment facilities remain a concern in various communities across the state. The state government has struggled to find the massive funding required to overhaul these aging systems comprehensively. Car insurance rates in Michigan are also among the highest in the nation due to unique no-fault insurance laws. Drivers here often pay premiums that are nearly double the national average, adding thousands of dollars to the annual cost of living. This adds another layer of financial burden to residents who are already dealing with high property taxes in certain municipalities. The combination of a transitioning economy, harsh weather conditions, and crumbling infrastructure makes daily life more difficult than in many other states. Education is another mixed bag, with stark disparities between wealthy suburban districts and struggling urban schools. Families moving to the state often find themselves in a bidding war for homes in the few districts with top-tier ratings. While the summers are beautiful and the cost of housing may appear low on paper, the hidden costs of living here are substantial. If you are seeking a dynamic economic environment and a mild, comfortable climate, Michigan presents significant obstacles to your goals. Number 4, Louisiana. Louisiana is a state that captures the imagination with its unique cultural tapestry and vibrant history. It is famous worldwide for the jazz music of New Orleans, the distinct flavors of Cajun cuisine, and the festive spirit of Mardi Gras. The warmth of the people and the richness of the traditions create an atmosphere that is unlike anywhere else in the United States. However, the romantic image of life in the bayou often clashes with the harsh realities that residents face on a daily basis. The most immediate and existential threat to anyone living in Louisiana is the increasing frequency and severity of natural disasters. Located precariously along the Gulf Coast, the state acts as a magnet for powerful hurricanes and tropical storms year after year. These weather events bring destructive winds and catastrophic flooding that can wipe out entire communities in a matter of hours. The emotional and financial toll of recovering from these storms is immense, often leaving families displaced for months or years. As a direct result of this climate risk, the cost of insuring a home in Louisiana has become a financial nightmare. Homeowners' insurance premiums have skyrocketed to some of the highest levels in the nation, with projections for 2026 showing average annual costs approaching $14,000. This is nearly 4 times the national average of approximately $3,800, placing a crushing burden on household finances. In some high-risk zones, private insurers have pulled out completely, leaving residents with few viable options to protect their assets. This has created a housing market crisis where properties are becoming uninsurable, drastically reducing their resale value. Compounding these environmental risks is an economy that struggles to provide stability and growth for its citizens. Louisiana consistently ranks as one of the poorest states in the nation, with a poverty rate hovering around 19%, significantly higher than the national average of 11.5%. The economy remains heavily dependent on the oil and gas industry, which is notoriously volatile and subject to global market shifts. When oil prices drop, the state budget suffers, leading to cuts in essential public services and infrastructure projects. Job diversification is low, meaning that if you are not in the energy or tourism sectors, high-paying career paths are scarce. Furthermore, the state faces profound challenges in its healthcare and education systems that impact quality of life. Louisiana frequently ranks near the bottom in national health outcomes, with high rates of chronic disease and limited access to care. The stretch of the Mississippi River between Baton Rouge and New Orleans is industrially dense and faces significant environmental pollution issues. This area, often referred to as Cancer Alley, has cancer risk rates that are notably higher than national baselines due to industrial emissions. The public education system also struggles with underfunding, leading to lower test scores and graduation rates compared to national averages. Many parents feel forced to pay for private schooling, adding another significant expense to the household budget. For families prioritizing top-tier education and a healthy environment, these factors are major red flags. Crime rates in major cities like New Orleans and Baton Rouge are also a persistent concern, often ranking among the highest in the country. New Orleans has frequently appeared in the top 10 cities for homicide rates per capita, affecting perceived and actual safety. The judicial and penal systems in the state are also frequently criticized for inefficiencies and high incarceration rates. While the culture is undeniably rich, the trade-offs regarding safety, economic opportunity, and environmental security are steep. Moving to Louisiana requires a willingness to accept risks that are simply not present in other parts of the country. It is a place where the vibrant spirit of the people is constantly tested by systemic failure and environmental hostility. Number 3. Kentucky. Kentucky is often romanticized in American culture as the bluegrass state, a land of rolling hills and thoroughbred horses. It offers a pace of life that appeals to those looking to escape the frantic energy and high costs of coastal cities. The initial appeal is often financial, as housing prices and property taxes in Kentucky are significantly lower than the national average. However, a low cost of living is often a reflection of lower demand and systemic issues that affect the overall quality of life. One of the most critical and heartbreaking issues facing Kentucky is the overall health profile of its population. The state consistently ranks among the worst in the nation for key health indicators, holding the grim distinction of having the highest cancer death rate in the country. Kentucky's been the epicenter of the opioid epidemic, a crisis that has devastated families and communities across the state. Despite recent efforts, the state remains in the top 10 nationally for opioid-related overdose deaths, claiming over 2,000 lives in a single year. This public health emergency has strained the healthcare system, overwhelmed social services, and impacted the available workforce. The ripple effects of addiction are felt in the foster care system, crime rates, and the general economic productivity of the region. Access to quality medical care is a significant challenge, particularly for those living in the rural, mountainous eastern regions. Residents often have to travel long distances to reach a hospital or see a specialist, which can be life-threatening in emergencies. Economic opportunities in Kentucky are also unevenly distributed and heavily influenced by the decline of traditional industries. For generations, the coal mining industry was the economic backbone of eastern Kentucky, providing high-paying jobs for those with high school educations. The collapse of this industry has left a massive economic void, resulting in deep poverty and a lack of clear alternatives. While cities like Louisville and Lexington have seen some growth in logistics and manufacturing, rural areas continue to struggle deeply. This economic disparity results in a median household income that is far below what is seen in more prosperous states. The median income in Kentucky sits around $55,000, which is substantially lower than the national median of approximately $75,000. The poverty rate remains stubbornly high, affecting the quality of schools, infrastructure, and community services. High poverty rates also correlate with limited access to healthy food options and recreational facilities in many counties. Education is another area where the state faces ongoing uphill battles despite the dedication of local teachers. Funding for public schools is often inadequate, and college attainment rates lag behind the national average. This creates a cycle where it is difficult to attract high-tech industries because the skilled workforce is not always available. Brain drain is a real concern, as many of the state's brightest young minds leave for opportunities in Nashville, Chicago, or the coasts. For those who love the outdoors, Kentucky does offer beautiful state parks and opportunities for hiking, fishing, and camping. But for those seeking a dynamic, forward-looking economy and a robust healthcare system, the state falls short. The combination of severe health challenges, economic stagnation in rural areas, and educational hurdles makes it a risky move. The social conservatism of the state may also be a culture shock for those moving from more progressive urban centers. It is a place where the low price of entry might eventually cost you much more in terms of long-term opportunity and well-being. Moving here often means trading financial liquidity for systemic stability, a trade that not everyone is willing to make. Number 2, Iowa. Iowa is often viewed as the quintessential representation of the American heartland, defined by its agricultural heritage. It is a state known for its vast, open cornfields, quiet rural towns, and a reputation for safety and stability. For those seeking a low cost of living and a place to raise a family away from urban chaos, it seems ideal on paper. However, the stability that defines Iowa can often feel like stagnation to those accustomed to a faster-paced environment. One of the most critical demographic challenges facing the state today is the phenomenon known as brain drain. Every year, a significant percentage of young college-educated Iowans leave the state, placing Iowa 7th in the nation for brain drain intensity. Economic studies suggest that for every college graduate who leaves, the state loses approximately $380,000 in lifetime tax revenue compared to retaining them. They migrate to larger cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, or Denver in search of higher wages and more diverse cultural experiences. This exodus leaves behind an aging population and a shrinking tax base, which creates long-term economic vulnerabilities. Small towns are hollowing out as businesses close due to a lack of customers and workers, leaving main streets empty. For a newcomer, this means entering a job market that can feel incredibly limited, especially in specialized or creative fields. Major corporations are few and far between, and career advancement often requires moving out of state eventually. You might find yourself hitting a professional ceiling much earlier in your career than you would in a more dynamic economy. The economy is heavily reliant on agriculture and insurance, which may not offer the diversity of roles found in other states. Culturally, while Iowans are known for being polite and helpful, the social environment can be difficult for outsiders to penetrate. The famous Midwest nice often masks a culture that is deeply insular and reserved with people they do not know. Social circles are often formed in childhood and remain closed off to newcomers, leading to feelings of isolation. Entertainment options in Iowa are also limited compared to what is available in more populous states. Nightlife, diverse dining options, and major cultural events are scarce, particularly outside of the Des Moines area. Those used to the amenities of a big city, museums, theaters, diverse ethnic food, will likely feel a significant void. The weather is another significant factor that drives people away, with extreme temperature fluctuations throughout the year. Summers are intensely hot and humid, while winters bring bitter cold and wind chills that can be dangerous. The state is also located in a region prone to severe weather, including tornadoes and powerful thunderstorms known as derechos. These massive windstorms can cause widespread destruction to property and crops, adding an element of unpredictability to life. The landscape, while peaceful in its own way, is largely flat and agricultural, offering little variety for outdoor enthusiasts. There are no oceans, no mountains, and few dense forests to explore, which can make weekends feel monotonous. If you are looking for excitement, rapid career growth, or a melting pot of cultures, Iowa is likely to disappoint. The low cost of living is attractive, but it is often a trade-off for a lack of dynamism and future-focused opportunity. It is a state that values tradition and continuity, which can be comforting to some but stifling to others. Number 1. Alabama. Alabama takes the top spot on our list of states to reconsider, and the reasons are multifaceted, deep-rooted, and difficult to ignore. Like many of its southern neighbors, it offers a warm climate, a slower pace of life, and a relatively low cost of housing. However, when you look closely at the key metrics that determine quality of life, Alabama consistently ranks near the bottom. The most pressing issue for many residents is the state's struggle with poverty and low wages. Alabama has one of the lowest median household incomes in the United States, making it difficult for families to build wealth. The poverty rate is alarmingly high, stagnating around 16%, which is significantly higher than the national average of 11.5%. Even more concerning is the child poverty rate, which sits at roughly 22%, meaning nearly 1 in 4 children in Alabama grows up in economic hardship. This economic hardship is visible in the crumbling infrastructure of many towns. While the state has attracted some automotive manufacturing plants, these jobs often do not pay wages comparable to similar roles in the North. The job market is heavily reliant on manufacturing and agriculture, industries that are vulnerable to automation and outsourcing. While costs are low, wages are often equally low, meaning your purchasing power may not be as high as you expect. Education is another critical area where Alabama faces significant and ongoing challenges. The state's public education system frequently ranks 45th or lower in the country for test scores and graduation rates. Funding disparities mean that schools in affluent areas thrive, while those in rural or poor areas are left behind. This inequality creates a cycle where children from disadvantaged backgrounds struggle to break out of poverty. For parents, this often means facing the difficult choice between underperforming public schools or expensive private education. Healthcare access is also a major concern, particularly for those living outside of the major cities like Birmingham. Many rural hospitals in Alabama have closed in recent years due to financial pressures, creating vast healthcare deserts. Residents in these areas may have to drive over an hour to reach an emergency room or a specialist. The state also faces significant environmental challenges, including issues with sanitation in rural areas that are rare in developed nations. In the Black Belt region, poor soil conditions and lack of infrastructure lead to failing septic systems and open sewage, a condition the UN has compared to third world nations. Weather is another major risk factor, as Alabama is located in a region that is frequently hit by severe tornadoes. Unlike the plains where tornadoes can be seen coming, Alabama's hilly terrain and tree cover makes storms harder to spot and more deadly. The state actually experiences a secondary tornado season in the fall, doubling the window of risk for residents. The social and political climate can also be polarizing, which may be a consideration for those coming from more progressive areas. Historical tensions and current political divisions can make the social environment feel unwelcoming to outsiders. Crime rates in certain urban centers are high, adding another layer of concern for potential residents. Property crime and violent crime rates in cities like Birmingham are statistically higher than the national average. When you combine the economic struggles, educational deficits, healthcare shortages, and environmental risks, the picture is clear. Alabama presents a unique set of challenges that can significantly impact your long-term happiness and financial stability. It is a state where the low cost of entry is often outweighed by the heavy cost of living with systemic disadvantages. Choosing to move here involves navigating a complex landscape of inequality and risk that few other states present.